Hi, welcome to a very special edition of Cooking with Kyle with a C. As you may notice, Kyle's not here. With this social distancing, we decided that doing it like this would be a special edition. You might recognize me from Northern New York's realest and finest fishing channel, Real Fine Fishing. Also from guest appearances on Life on Saturn Productions, Shaboy Cam Saturday Six Pack, and on How You Livin'. You should subscribe to all of those. The links for those will be down below. Today, we're getting in the process of smoking a pork butt. You're going to want a bone-in pork butt. The weight of it is up to your choosing, but that will play a factor on how long it is smoked. I have with me right now an 8.29 pound pork butt. So the first thing that you want to do is get this wrapper off. With a cutting board placed on top, I'm using kitchen shears to open this up. Okay, remove it from package. Okay, now that the pork butt's been removed from the package, we're going to be getting into the dry rub portion of it. But before doing that, you should always rinse this off. Turn your faucet on. I have it to about a room temperature setting on the water. And just rinse it off real good. Wipe it down. Get any of that solution off that's been sitting in the package for a while. You know, any kind of impurities, anything like that. Bringing it back over. Now, as you may notice, there is quite a bit of fat on here. On this side, and a lot of it on this side. Do not trim that off. Leave that on there. You are going to want it. After it's rinsed, pad dry it. Get it nice and dry. Okay, now that that's dry, you're going to want to pick like a sauce of your choosing. It could be barbecue sauce, it could be sweet red chili marinade, it could be mustard for that matter, it can be anything that you want. Now with this sauce, you're going to want to coat this whole outside, sides, underneath, everything. Make sure it's rubbed in pretty good, then we'll get into the dry rub portion. And this time, I'm going to be using the sweet red chili marinade. I like this because I like a little bit of heat, but with pulled pork, I find that sweetness is key. So we're going to put on some gloves for this. You can if you want, you don't have to, but I'm choosing to. I don't have that much left because I like to use it. We're going to put that all on top of here. A little bit does go a long way, but you can use really any amount that you want. Now we're going to spread this all around here. Get it in all the crevices and grooves. Really work it in there too because you want it to soak in with the marinade. The reason for doing this is so your dry rub can stick to it and be able to soak it all in and marinate it. And any added salts and sugars that are coming from that sauce that you choose will help draw in all that dry rub that you're about to put on. Now let's get into the dry rub. Now this is all preference. You can put whatever kind of rub that you want on it. Just make sure to put a generous amount on it. Today I'm going with smoky brown sugar, a little bit of Texas brisket, smokehouse maple, applewood dry rub. This is smoked paprika and dark brown sugar. So this is the main man of the hour right here, this smoky brown sugar. So I'm going to put a fair amount in there. Runner up. Next in line. This is also a key ingredient into this. You'll see a lot of recipes with paprika or like a smoked paprika. Put a generous amount in there. Now with the brown sugar, it's going to wait until after because this tends to make things a little bit clumpy, so it's going to go on last, and which will play a very important role in the smoking process. So let's get this all stirred up here. Now what I like to do when adding the rub, I like to get a pan like this because it is going to be messy. Now, before transferring this over, I'm going to lay a little bit down just so it has an initial pickup. With this, I'm going to put the fat side down just so when I'm rubbing, it'll put a lot of pressure on that so it can penetrate. Kind of work that in there just a little bit like that. Okay, now you want to cover every single side with this rub. So go ahead and sprinkle some of this on here. Just little bits at a time. So you can work it in like so. Really press it in there. Flip it up. See how that's already working its way in there? It's good. Let's get this side. And another reason for putting the dry rub down first and then laying it on is so when you're flipping, you can take what's left and press it into that side while you're working on another. Now I know I just dumped an estimated amount of rub into the batch. This isn't a recipe, this is all just a process of smoking. Like I said, you can use any kind of rub that you want, any amount, whether you like it sweeter, saltier, spicier, whatever. You do want to try to get as even as possible, but because this is going to be a pulled pork shredded, I think when the final product comes out, it's going to be mixed together pretty well with the pulling process. Now we can add this brown sugar just right on top like so. This is going to make it really sweet and salty and smoky. It's going to be incredible. Now the reason for putting the sugar on last is because it's going to stick to the dry rub that's sticking to the glue. It's going to sit on top. And when you're about to put this into the smoker, that heat is going to melt that sugar. And it's going to drip all around the sides, even soak in a little bit. And it's going to give you that bark, that charredness, but it's so much better than a char. And this brown sugar is going to sit on top of the thick fat part, because when that goes into the smoker, you want that fat layer pointing upward so it'll melt all down and on the sides and around. Okay, now with the dry rub on, we're going to get it prepped for refrigeration. I'm going to use this cling wrap right here. It's probably not the best option to use because it is kind of sticky and it might take some of that rub off, but with it being wrapped tightly and in the fridge, it'll allow it to give it enough time to actually soak in. And what happens when you unwrap this is that some of the dry rub is going to come off with it. That's why using a generous amount of that rub is important. Now, do not use aluminum foil for wrapping this in refrigeration. Although aluminum foil is food safe, when it's sitting in with the salts and sugars like that, it starts to break down the foil. And that foil will penetrate in with the marinade as well, and you do not want that. Look at that. You can already tell what color the meat is going to be. Get it nice and tight. Okay. Give it a couple pats, and this is ready to go in the fridge. Now, depending on the size of your roast or pork butt, whatever it is that you're smoking, the time for marinade is going to variate. I would say a size like this, you want to at least have the dry rub marinating in the fridge for at least 12 hours. A lot of people say an overnight, but I just feel like that's not enough to grasp all the sugars and salts and seasonings. However, I'm going to have this in the fridge for much longer than that. I'm going to have this in for at least 20 hours. It might even be more. So, this is how it looks now. Just like so. And we'll check on it again in a day. Alright, so it's the next day. It's been about 20 hours, 21 hours sitting in the fridge. So now is the time to get the wood chips together. Let them soak in some water. And halfway through that soaking, I want to take that out of the fridge and let it sit out to get some of the chill off of it before throwing it in the smoker. And also halfway during the smoking process, I want to get that smoker up and running. I want to try to stay in between a 215 and a 225 degree atmosphere for the pork butt. So here I have my bags of wood chips. I got applewood, mesquite, hickory, a little bit of pecan, and some cherry. So this is another part where it's all about preference. It's about what you want. You can use just mesquite, you can use just hickory, or you can combine some, which that's what I'm going to do just because I kind of feel like it. With some of the spices that I have, they have different notes. So I want each of the smoke to hit those different notes. I don't think I'm going to use every single one of these. So this is more of like, the hickory is more for dark meat. This is also for like medium dark, you know, like a light and a dark at the same time. This is for your lighter meats. Same thing with your cherry and your pecan. So it just depends. It all depends on what you want to do. So I'm going to take out my soaking tray here. So because I have a recipe that is on the sweeter side, I'm going to go with apple and get a decent amount because this is going to be smoking for like 10 to 12 hours. So you want to have enough to be able to replenish your smoking box. I want to hit it with just a bit of the cherry, a little bit of this pecan, and mesquite or hickory. You know what? Screw it. I'm going to do them both. Just a blend of everything. I don't care. It's primarily applewood right now, but just to get some of these other notes in there. Judge me if you want. I don't care. Without making too much of a mess, we're just going to blend this all together. Okay, now we're going to get our water on to warm, just to help soften up this wood, get it soaked in a little better. Okay. Put that on there. Now we're going to let that sit for about an hour, at least, just because there's so much wood, and some of these are, you know, a little bit thicker. And halfway through that, we're going to take that out of the fridge and let that get to temp and start the smoker. Alright, it's been about a half an hour. We're going to take this out of the fridge and let it get to temp. Take a look at that. All those colors. That red, golden, orange. Oh man. Set this on top of a mat and let it sit there for a little bit. Now, the reason why I'm doing that is because cold constricts. So I don't want it tight going into the smoker. I want it to loosen up and expand those fibers within the meat, so then the marinade that I have on there can continue to embed itself, but also allow that smoke to get in between the fibers and penetrate deeper. And in a few minutes, I'm going to get the smoker rolling. I do want to share with you a very important tool that I have that is awesome. Love it. So this is an internal thermometer. This part right here is a reader. This is what will go into the smoker and into the meat. And this is your monitor. This will receive those signals and tell you the temp. And you can set alarms for set temperatures that you want. Because with this pulled pork here, you want at least an internal temp of 205 for it to be able to shred. I know that internal pork temps are around 165 to like 175. But don't stop there, because at that point it's still going to be really tough and you won't be able to shred it. So send her to 205. And while you're waiting for that to get the temp, just stir up your wood chips a little more. And then wait for this to get the temp and we'll start that up. Alright, I think it's about time to get the smoker ready. So we're going to need the power to it. It is an electric smoker. The furnace is a little noisy. And it's windy today, so that's wonderful. Plug that in. Make sure it's all the way down first. Now we'll turn this dial just a little bit. This does have an external thermometer on here, so I'm just going to keep an eye on that. And once that gets to about like 140, that's when I'm going to introduce the wood chips. And then at that point, I can just start unwrapping this and getting it onto a tray and then throwing it in. I'm going to use a tray like this. Should be good size for that. If you want to spray it down, a little bit of grill spray. A smoker typically comes with a smoke box. This is where your soaked wood chips go into. You fill it up, shut it, and you put it near the heat source that's typically on the bottom. But because this is a big roast and I want to have it in there for a long time without much of a disturbance, I'm going to use this metal colander. I can fit a lot more wood chips in there, and it means that I will open the door to the smoker less often. So we'll get this filled up, let it drain a little bit. Let's do a transfer here. Oh yeah. And if you find yourself needing more wood chips, as this is going, you can always soak some more. Now I wouldn't fill it to the very top, just in case if you have to go back out and just stir it around, it'll be less likely to drop wood chips onto the heat source itself. You don't want anything burning. That pork butt will pick up that flavor of burnt. Now we can unwrap this. This right here. Smells incredible. Okay, now remember, the fat side faces up in the smoker, so that can melt like butter all over it and around it. Oh my God. Look at that. See that brown sugar right there? That is gonna melt with that fat all over. And that's exactly what you want. It went over the temp just a little bit, but that's okay to introduce these wood chips here. Right, that's gonna sit right in the bottom here. I forgot about that guy. I'm gonna put some water in there just to keep it hydrated. All right, I think it's time to introduce. That's it. That's all there is to it. Just kidding. You gotta wait and check on it for another 12 hours. And we're gonna do that. So I'm gonna give updates. I'm gonna be leaving it alone for a while. Make sure the temp is regulated. As far as this thermometer right here, I'm gonna wait about 4 hours. I'm gonna open that and stick this center and center to the bone that's inside. And then I'm gonna monitor that and make sure that it's not overheating, or just keeping an eye on how long it's actually gonna take. Like I said, 205 at least minimum that you want that internal temp. And I'll get into what to do after when it has reached 205. So now let's just hang out for 12 hours, but maybe for you, it's gonna be like a minute. Alright, so a quick update. About 8 hours in the smoker, and it's going at a good rate. Right now I'm picking up at a 177. So I think about every 4 hours it picks up about 40 degrees. So that's going to be right on cue with my 12-hour mark. I've been spraying it with the Dr. Pepper here and there, and checking up on the wood chips. I haven't been able to switch them out yet, but I will. They're starting to get a little black on the edges, so that means that there's going to be a swap out. Alright, so it's been about another hour and a half. I'm reading that a 188. I think now is a good time to get my sauce prepped up, because I want to be able to brush it on during the last hour or so on the smoking process to get that candied, glazed bark going on, you know? Just going to get a regular old saucepan here, get that going. So I'm going to start off with just like a little bit of oil. Using avocado oil. It's got a higher burn temp. So my main sauce ingredient that I want to use is a rendered down Dr. Pepper. Get that warmed up. Now I'm going to use another barbecue sauce as like a base, like a thickening agent, because I don't have cornstarch, but that's something that you would probably want to use. Because I'm going to be using honey, I didn't say that, but I'm going to. I'm going to use a honey barbecue as the base. Let's get some of that honey in there. Some Worcestershire, however you want to say it. The Lee and Perrins is way better than anything else. Don't use the other guys'. I'm going to get some minced garlic up in there. Good helping of that. A little bit of the hickory liquid smoke. Some of the smoky brown sugar rub. And some Tabasco. Might froth up a little bit because of the soda. So just go slow. Now I don't mind this being a little bit thin, because I feel like a thin sauce goes a little bit further on a pulled pork. Gives it more of like a surface area but I do want to try to thicken it up more than what it already is. And with that soda in there, the Dr. Pepper, that sugar should start to cook down and crystallize it, make it a little bit thicker. Okay, can't forget the regular sea salt here. I think I'm going to toss some brown sugar in there as well. Okay, it's already starting to kind of bubble up a little bit, so just keep a good stir on it. I feel that in any pulled pork recipe, this is essential. Not just by itself, but with the barbecue sauce that you're going to throw on there, just mix it. Mix it with it. It's like the best combination that you can have with a pulled pork sandwich or a pulled pork taco, whatever it is. Pulled pork nachos. Get some of that in there. Telling you. You're going to let that do its thing for a little while, kind of boil up and then cool down. Let it sit there for a little bit to kind of thicken up, and then it should be easier to brush onto the pulled pork. Let it get that bark. Alright, so it's at 194. I think it's time to brush on some of that sauce. It did thicken up just a little bit, but it's thin enough to be able to brush it. So it might be kind of dark out here. Now I don't want to put too much on here because I don't want to take away from any of the dry rub taste. I just want to get a nice wet coating on here with it. Give it a nice paint job with this sauce here. Okay, that should be good enough for now. I'm just going to leave it alone for the rest of the time. And there it is. 2:05. I'm going to go grab this beast. Oh, yes. And there it is. See that? See all that dark? See how soft that is? Alright, so this isn't over yet. There's still another process that we got to do. This tin foil right here, this is going to be placed on here, wrapped. And then it's going to get wrapped again. And then it's going to get wrapped in a towel to let it sit there for about an hour. This is to let all the juices in there redistribute and help it relax. Shredding it too early will cause it to be dry and uneven. This is like the smoking process finisher right here. So we'll gently release it from the pan. Get that over there. Let's get this wrapped up. I'm going to do this wrapping one more time. Now I'm going to take a small towel, set it up right here, just like so. Okay. I'm going to put it in this container. Pop a lid on it and let it rest. Alright, so it's been resting for about an hour and a half. I think it's about time to shred this. It is still pretty warm, but it should be alright. Good to go. So we'll get this out of here. Oh man. Transfer this over. This stuff right here. Just drop it all back in. Put on some gloves. This is going to be a little bit messy, and if I just got to get in there with my hands, it might help with it still being pretty hot. Now I want to find that bone and get that out of there. Alright. It should be right. Oh man. Look at how this is lifting up so easily. Now that is what you want to see when you pull the bone out. Hardly anything left on it. Get this all shredded up. I think that's well shredded. With that sauce I made, I'm not going to add it to that just because I want it to be on its own, just so it's left versatile for whatever you want to make. So right now I'm just going to make a pulled pork sandwich, use some of that sauce, nothing else. First, I've got to try this. Look at that bark on that. Alright, so plate a nice soft hoagie roll. Take some of this here, piled up well. Gonna add a little bit of that sauce, not too much so it's not overpowering. That's it. Send it. call it a day. I have no words to describe that. So how about you try this method yourself and speak the words for me. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this episode of Cooking with Kyle with a C was fun, informative, and entices you to get out to the smoker. Subscribe to this channel, subscribe to Real Fine Fishing, subscribe to Life on Saturn Productions, and subscribe to Shaboy Cam. Thank you, and have yourself a real fine day.